Yeah, so let me hand over now to Baba Mxolisi to then come and do the presentation, and then our other panel members will then do the necessary. If I can just have the roving mics for my team, I can just bring 2 roving mics here in the front so that when we have our engagement, we won't have a challenge. Thank you, Baba Kunene.
A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you, Dr. Indaba, for organizing such a conference. I would also like to echo the same words that were echoed earlier on. A very passionate man when it comes to asset management. And it's been a while, and he has really pushed and pushed. When he started, I think asset management, we were all thinking it's one of those things. But at least now it's clear, and the roadmap is quite laid out clearly for all of us. And hence then my presentation actually follows your thought process on asset management. Firstly, I'll tell you about Mxolisi. Mxolisi is the third largest municipality in the province with a budget of 5.4 billion. We've got 8 clean audits. 8 clean audits. I'm hoping and praying that the 21-22 one is also loading, God willing. Having said that, we've got a total net asset of about 6 billion in the balance sheet. Very important, on the asset management side from the AG, we had no issues or audit exceptions or communications around asset management. Very clearly, we a couple of years back, I do look young, but I'm old. I'm actually, it's my 12th or 13th year as a CFO. So that should tell you. When I started at Mxolisi, the asset management was actually a financial thing. Everyone think assets, they think finance. But when we took on what Dr. Indaba started around defining what asset management is, or what is it all about, we started then separating the responsibilities into the right departments. And so then infrastructure asset management in Mxolisi resides within the infrastructure department. It doesn't reside in finance. I'll go a little bit deeper once I'm on the next slides. So finance only deals with asset accounting. We don't deal with infrastructure. But obviously from a budgeting perspective, we're involved. From budgeting for repairs and maintenance, we are involved. But from managing asset infrastructure, it's got nothing to do with finance. But accounting for that, for those assets, and making sure that from an accounting perspective, everything is on the green, then it is a financial issue. There is a myth that assets is a finance function. I think I've spoken about that. And I think out of the issues that I'll talk about, you realize that it's actually better to separate it. And it's always good to have asset as a strategic issue, not as an operational issue. It should always sit on top. As I said, Mxolisi, net assets sitting at 6 billion. There's a lady here, because I always travel with a team, and I want to acknowledge both of them. That is Siya Khumalo. He's responsible for creditors' assets and financial statements. He's sitting there at the back. And there is a lady, Nondo. I actually said yesterday when we had a meeting with the AG that you are actually tiny, but you're in charge of 6 billion at the municipality. So you always look at a person because she sits in her desk and try to put the numbers together, but if you think about it. She's in charge of making sure that the assets in the system are actually correct, to a tune of 6 billion. She's also here. So I always talk about my team. I don't talk about myself. So I just lead, but it's always a team effort. All right, effective asset management for infrastructure is one of those topics that we all talk about assets, but we shy away to defining what is it that we're talking about. And obviously, the aim of asset management is to maximize, optimize, reduce, and also establish clear lines of responsibilities. I didn't go through the other stuff. You will get the presentation, I'm sure. 3 key resources, it's assets, people, and finances. Before I get into this slide, I want to talk about the journey that we've traveled as a municipality. It took us about 7 years when we started. However, we then got to meet a company. I even said to him, he needs to pay me because I'll talk about his company as well when I'm presenting, because I'm so happy with the system that they've given the municipality. So after I've spoken, you must see me outside. But be as it may, I must say that we then got IMQS and we got ourselves organized. Originally, everything's set all over. But when they came on board, we started defining certain issues, and we made sure that those issues are categorized correctly. And obviously, IMQS, in the main, they've got a lot of engineers, so they were able to clearly articulate infrastructure asset management. Yes, when it came to accounting side, they will bring in a few people to talk to us, finance people, but in the main, they had a pool of engineers who actually assisted us. So this slide here, in the main, only talks about the strategic intent of asset management. Normally, you'll find that we leave asset management, it's either at the operational level or technical level. It has to be at the strategic level. We exist in the municipality as a result of assets. If you want to define assets, it brings together a number of things, brings together resources, it brings together people, it brings together the infrastructure to deliver the services that we expected to deliver. But if you were to leave asset management in the bottom line, you will be hitting a miss into the future. Hence then, this slide talks about the gap that I've just spoken about, that if you really take asset management lightly, you might find yourself not paying attention to what really needs to be paid attention to. I know all of us, when it comes to auditing, we now tell ourselves that we've mastered GREP 17. It used to be a nightmare. But I can tell you, if you go to the audits that we should have finished by now, and look at the communications that we've received or exceptions that we've received, you'll realize that we've still got a big problem around asset infrastructure. So we definitely need to pay attention to that. And if the tone is not set from top, then you'll always have the issues coming up. This diagram belongs to that gentleman. So in the main, it defines the structural issues around asset management. It talks to repairs and maintenance. It talks to that you should actually have a plan first, also have a policy, the strategy that the doc was talking about. You must also have a policy that talks to infrastructure asset management. And you must also, in that policy, or separately, have the accounting side. I will always say, separate the two issues. The engineers, they need to do what they went to school for. The accountants, they need to do what they went to school for. You can't be an accountant and want to talk pumps. Because if we take the pump apart, you will fall short as an accountant. Because there's so many pieces in that pump that only engineers will know about. Or if you've got an interest from a finance perspective, which I doubt it. The only thing that you will know is the price and the depreciation. So it's very, very important that asset is actually given to the right people. This slide, I'm only going to read very, very important slide. Out of everything that I've spoken about and what I'm still going to talk about, this is the most important slide. And most municipalities actually fail on this. I'll read it in total because it's English. I don't want to interpret it. I want to read it so that all of us gets to hear this. This is a rule, a law 5. It says, the rule states that if you wait to perform minor repairs as part of preventative maintenance, they will become moderate repairs costing 5 times more. English. And if still left unattended to, will turn into major repairs costing another 5 times more. Maintenance turns from preventative to corrective to reactive. Immediately you are at reactive stage, just forget it. Because you'll be chasing a train that is already gone. So it's very important that you deal with issues at an early stage. As we all know, preventative maintenance regularly schedule inspections and minor maintenance activities, such as changing filters if it's a pump, lubrication and cleaning, which actually cost less. Corrective maintenance, it's when the repairs, defects, or failure of minor components and significantly less than reactive maintenance. And also, obviously, once it's broken, then there's a problem. So we need to make sure that when it gets to repairs and maintenance of all asset infrastructure for a municipality, one, we budget accordingly. I know that there is the norm of 8%, and we always say, if I get the 8%, then I'm okay. It shouldn't be about that. It should be about what is your infrastructure saying about budgeting for maintenance, not you saying, I want to meet the norm. So with our municipality, the budget for maintenance is about 13%, 13, which is far away from the norm. So it's very important that you budget accordingly when it gets to maintenance. We've got an integrated approach which makes sure that the asset register is actually aligned. It also talks to GRAP and it talks to MSCOA. And the fact that that register, it does to a certain extent have a maintenance management system. You have maintenance plans, you also develop asset management plans, and also to ensure that annually you renew your asset plans. You also go through that policy, make sure that if there are changes that you need to do to the policy, you make those changes to the policy. And one also important thing on the budget side, I think I've said it before, if the municipalities that are sitting in this room were to be honest when it gets to the budget that we're implementing, you'll find that we've probably cooked the budget. That is why when it gets to auditing, you get caught out, because you'll have unauthorized expenditure, you'll have all those funny issues, because the budget is not talking to realities. We tend to want to make politicians, or we tend to make our mayors or constituencies to be more happy to say we will implement more, knowing very well that we're not going to be able to implement more. I don't believe that we should have provincial treasury and national treasury telling us that your budget is funded, if you are realistic. You should know that that budget is actually not funded. So it's very, very important that when you look at the municipality, including asset management, you come from a very stance that says whatever that we'll put in the budget from a repairs and maintenance perspective is what the infrastructure actually needs, not what you think should be put on the budget, because you might actually fall short. I'm not going to go through those issues, but we just need to make sure that we don't make asset management a tick box exercise, because then when it fails, then there are bigger problems. You drive through South Africa and many municipalities these days, the roads, it will show you that we probably putting infrastructure and maintenance at the bottom. But I want to say visit Richards Bay. That road looks good. I thought you were going to clap hands. Because we make sure that when it gets to repairing of roads is the outlook of the town, it's the outlook of the municipality, and it also brings investment to the municipality. But if you've got potholes and you still want investment to come through to the municipality, you're going to have problems. So I'm trying to preach today that look after your assets through your repairs and maintenance so that you don't get into a fix. Challenges, obviously, we all do have challenges. I'm not saying Mxolisi doesn't have challenges. We do have challenges. But let's talk about challenges with regards to asset management. Strong misconception, I think I've spoken about that the roles and responsibilities, if you were to ask a politician or a mayor, even my mayor if he was here, ask him, who does assets? CFO. Because we tend to talk more about assets, yet we're not, from a technical perspective, we did not go to school for that. So we need to make sure that we drive the right language and we drive the right responsibility to the right person. So we must make sure of that. Inadequate to non-asset management technical structures, lack of unified vision and integration thinking. As I said earlier, it must start from the top. If the MM or the city manager doesn't talk about asset management from a strategic perspective, then you've got a problem. Then you've got a big problem. Worse if your CFO doesn't talk about that. I must say, when we started separating in Mxolisi, as I said, Dr. Ngobo, I don't say I, but I was part of those that were making so much noise until it moved from finance to the right department. So collectively, we made sure that we talk the same language, including the policy that we have. It's a policy that went through all the structures. Those are recommendations. Again, they talk to what I've just said. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm sure you'll get the presentation. What is very important, which I want to part with here, is that if we have politicians here and we have our mayors, we have honorable councillors, what I'm requesting today is that when we get back to our councils, the first thing that we ask the municipal manager, CFO, and the infrastructure director is that who is responsible for asset infrastructure management. Let's go back, ask the municipal manager. If he says CFO, then you must know there's a big problem. Because you cannot rely on the CFO to do everything. Yes, we do, because we've got an interest. I've got an interest in almost anything in Mxolisi. That is why I will provide a solution, even if it's an engineering, based on probably experience now. But I've got an interest in the municipality and in making sure that the municipality actually runs well. So I know pretty much what's happening in that municipality. And again, it shouldn't be like that. We should be doing things collectively. So I'm saying today, please take infrastructure asset management very seriously. That's what we do in Mxolisi. And I'm very proud of my district, which is led by the president of Sikfaro. We pretty much share a common understanding when it gets to asset management with them. And yes, they are our big brother. Thank you very much.